Hello, my name is Ayanna Parsons, and I'm the head of Retail, Consumer Goods, and Lifestyle Industries at the World Economic Forum. I also head an exciting project for the World Economic Forum called Engaging Tomorrow's Consumer. And Engaging Tomorrow's Consumer is all about engaging millennials in sustainable lifestyles. So this is certainly a topic that is relevant and near and dear to my heart. We've got a great panel here today. We also, though, before I get started and really introduce the panelists, I did want to let you all know that this is an interesting room. So this is what we call a connect room, and that means that this session will be live broadcast on TopLink, our digital platform. And we also have someone who we're calling a topic champion here in the front row, Janice. She'll just raise her hand. So she's been blogging about this topic and will continue to engage online, and I will sort of engage her towards the end of the session as well. Just a few housekeeping items. If you could silence your cell phones, that'd be great. And also, you should know that the session is on the record, and there will be simultaneous interpretation in English, Mandarin, and Japanese. So we've got, like I said, a great group of panelists. If I could just start here to my left and introduce them to you. First, we have Din Ba Thanh. He is the chairman and chief executive officer of Dat Viet Vác Group Holdings in Vietnam. And he certainly has expertise not just on the Vietnamese market, but will speak from a media and communications standpoint. So we've been talking about this, the notion of sort of what is sustainability. We know it's confusing. We know that people don't really understand sustainability. So I might ask you to sort of add to the discussion there around, do people understand? And if not, what needs to be done to help them understand?
Oh, yeah. Firstly, as you introduced me, I'm not an expert in sustainability. So I just share my very much humble views and what I understand a bit only on a very much on a local perspective.
Sure.
I think that sustainable lifestyles is probably understood to the Vietnamese people. It's just a style of living, and which share cares for other people with a goal to sustain human's life in harmony. So that's the overall definition. But we have a recent research for a group of white collar, about a sample of 400 to 500 in Ho Chi Minh City, which is a cosmopolitan city in Vietnam. And we have about 35% is millennial. And the issue is that 92% have heard, but 60% they really don't understand what exactly it really means.
Wow, so 90% have heard of it,
Heard of
60%
it, yeah,
don't know what it
yeah,
is.
yeah. But if you're talking about specific issues like water pollution, global warming, then they understand. But there's no connection of sustainability and the real stuff that they have been doing. Secondly, we don't have that so-called like fully developed concept. Simply because we don't have enough product. In our country, if you want to buy green products, how many green products you may purchase? Or if you want to join a so-called like environment campaign or whatever to support, so how many campaigns you have a year? Like we have, it's the 5th year we have Earth Hour, but once in a year and lasts for 1 hour. So we don't have the repeat to create a learning curve. Because I believe that this is somewhat like a culture. You need to groom it. And what can be done? I think that this is my question to you back again.
You're going to interview me.
How long have we lived with various wars for independence in my country?
You tell me.
We have about 1,250 years. It's one of the longest various wars in the world. And this is really create an impact of a lifestyle for the Vietnamese very much. They care for today and why I should worry for tomorrow. So the understanding of sustainable lifestyles, because of that, is very much affected by the lifestyle that bears for how many thousand years in Vietnam. My opinion is that we're not here to evaluate or define millennials that are good or bad, because I think they both good and bad as human beings. To me, it's more important that definitely they will be the owner of the future. And if they have the ownership of opinion, of trends, of country, of whatsoever, we have to listen to them and we have to obey what they are going to do in the future.
So, Tom, let me ask you this. So we've sort of defined millennials as being a key opportunity. We've talked about the sort of what sustainability is. Let's go back to sort of the company perspective and the branding and marketing of sustainable products and services. So how important is it that companies do this and do this on a regular basis? You certainly talked about Vietnam, there being an outage when it comes to sustainable products and services.
2 days ago, our Prime Minister in the opening speech here, he mentioned a lot of sustainable development many times in his speech. So meaning that on a country's perspective, the government of our country very much determined to design a more long-term and strategic perspective to help the country to go on the global trends and help people to live a better life. So I think it's quite fundamental. And how to make it happen?
Well, how to make it happen in terms of the actual branding and the marketing of sustainability?
Okay, I just give you an example. I believe that the consumer believe and think the business community own the society because they are profitable by doing business. So they need to take responsibility to contribute back to the community. That's where it's coming from. Any trends that help the communities for long term as sustainability lifestyle is a must for them to do.
Got it.
And as a must, they will have many reasons and many ways to make it happen. And as I mentioned, it's very much that as a perception that they can groom it as a culture, or maybe they can groom it as a little bit bigger as a philosophy, or maybe a religion. Because to me, philosophy and religion can last for a few thousand years, and nobody debates why. And people just believe and just follow. And this somewhat, if we have a very good reason and a good cause that sustainable is somewhat, we have to groom it and to make it as a religion. This is what the way I think we should do.
I do have a question that I'd sort of like to pose to all of the panelists. So we've talked about this being sort of a policy issue. We've talked about this being about more than just the environment and more than just green. Can you talk about the stakeholders that need to be at the table in order for us to solve this thing called sustainability, particularly in Asia? And why don't we, actually I'll start with Tom.
As I mentioned, I think we need to build it as a culture, fundamentally. And secondly, I believe that we need to build a strong fundamental alliance to support this culture. And the alliance will be including of the government, who is in charge of so-called macro sustainability. And secondly, we need to have the whole society to support by understand, having wisdom, as you mentioned. They need to understand what's happening to support this and to engage in the micro sustainability. That's the second point. And the third group, I think, is thinkers, because they have to think to create relevant products for the millennials or the people to use it on a daily basis. And with the thinkers and on the policies and the support from the society, then we have doers. And I think doers will be business people, will be industry, and they will be in charge to link on these three elements into something what is can happen. They can sponsor for on this kind of concept. They can produce and do the marketing for the eco products or whatever. But they are the elements to deliver sustainability for the whole world and help it to be sustainable. But the reality based on research, 80% people agree to pay more for eco product whatsoever. And we have a case study in Vietnam as well, whereby we have a product conditioner that reduces 2/3 of the water they spend when they use detergent. And this is a huge success in Vietnam, even though the price is 20% higher, but the market share increased to 40% after that. So the perception to me is very important, is sustainable, is somewhat people willing to have a better thing, but spend a little bit more.
So I want to thank you all for your time, for your questions. I will quickly summarize this wonderful discussion. I think there were a few key takeaways. One was that sort of sustainability is poorly understood. So there's an opportunity for education and to really talk about shifting the conversation to what it will actually take to sustain a world of 9 billion, because that's where we're headed. It's also about moving the conversation away from just green or just environmental change, but talking about societal change as well. And then in terms of how we do sort of turn the corner in terms of sustainability and encourage millennials to drive that change, we talked about the notion of really taking a more whole of society approach that brings in policy, that brings in government, that brings in business leaders, that brings in more of these millennial voices. So I think for me in particular, that's a key takeaway from this discussion today. So I thank you all for your contributions. I'd love to thank all of our panelists for their many contributions. If we could just give them a round of applause. And last but certainly not least, I'd encourage you all to continue the conversation on TopLink. Thank you.